Level 1. The hourly trap. This is the bottom of the money ladder, where net worth is near zero and nearly everyone starts. Down here, time is not something you own. It is inventory that you sell by the hour. Your alarm fires at 6. Before coffee, before daylight, you are already inside the oldest trade in economics, time arbitrage, exchanging your hours for someone else's money at a fixed hourly wage. Median U.S. wage, $29 per hour. In the United States, the median worker earns about $29 per hour. That is the official exchange rate on your life, printed on every pay slip you have ever received. But the trade is worse than it looks, because the meter only runs at your desk. The drive there, the drive back, the parking garage shuffle, all of that you donate. Your commute, 240 unpaid hours per year. The average American commute now runs about 27 minutes each way. Stack those trips across a working year and you hand your employer roughly 240 unpaid hours. Then come the lines, the pharmacy queue, the customer service hold music, the government office that closes at 4. Nobody pays you for these hours. You pay with them. Add it up honestly. Commuting, errands, chores, waiting rooms, and hold queues consume over 900 hours of your year. An entire second job that pays exactly nothing. The cruel part is that the poorest pay the most time. The bus that takes twice as long, the laundromat, the payday loan office line. Being broke is a full-time logistics job. By the time you get home, the day's best hours are gone. What is left, you spend recovering so you can wake up tomorrow and sell another 8. Here is the part nobody tells you. The wealthy play the exact same 24-hour game you do. They have simply learned to sit on the other side of the trade. Level 2. The salary illusion. One rung up, the hourly rate disappears from your contract. You feel like you have escaped the clock. In reality, you have just stopped counting. You land the salaried job, $75,000 a year, and for a moment your net worth finally has a pulse. No more punching clocks, no more counting minutes. Or so you think. The emails start arriving at 9 at night. The Sunday planning call becomes tradition. A salary, you discover, is not payment for 40 hours. It is payment for access to all of them. What looks like a fixed salary is really unlimited hours, one price. This is the salary illusion. The number sounds like freedom, but divide it by the hours you actually work, and the machine has quietly cut your real rate. Your real rate, $26.79 per actual hour. Run the math. $75,000 across 2,800 real hours, including commute and overtime, comes to about $26 an hour, less than the hourly worker you pitied. Meanwhile, your manager's manager leaves at 5, not because they work less, but because they have learned the first rule of wealth. Never spend an hour that someone cheaper can spend for you. You sense the imbalance, so you chase raises. But every raise arrives with more responsibility attached, and your hours get more expensive to your employer while staying worthless to you. Your weekends belong to the backlog. Groceries, laundry, the leaking faucet, the tax forms. 52 Saturdays a year, spent doing $30 an hour work for free by a person worth more. The real budget, 5,840 waking hours per year. Everyone on Earth gets 8,700 hours a year. Subtract sleep, and you hold about 5,800. The only question wealth ever asks is who controls each one. At this level, the answer is brutal. Your employer controls most of them. Your obligations take the rest. And the ones you truly own arrive after 10, already exhausted. Level 3. The first buyback. This is where the ladder quietly reverses. For the first time, instead of selling hours for money, you spend money to get hours back. It starts with a simple calculation that most people never run. Take your annual income, divide it by 2,000 working hours, and stare at what your hour is actually worth. Your hour's price, $37.50 per hour. At $75,000 a year, your hour trades at $37.50. That number is a weapon. Any task you can buy for less is a trade worth making. The first hire feels like a moral failure. A cleaner, twice a month, $120. Your parents scrubbed their own floors. You stand in the doorway feeling like a fraud. Then the math wins. 4 hours of scrubbing bought for $30 an hour, while you finish a freelance project worth $90. You did not spend money. You ran an arbitrage. A whole menu of hours is for sale below your rate: cleaning, grocery delivery, laundry service, meal prep. The middle class calls it lazy. Accountants call it comparative advantage. Hours reclaimed. Over 400 hours per year. Outsource 8 hours of chores a week, and you reclaim over 400 hours a year. That is 10 full working weeks, returned to you for a few $1,000s. There is an old study finding that people who spend money on time-saving services report higher life satisfaction than people who buy things. The researchers called it buying time. Most people still refuse. What matters is what you do with those hours. Spent on the couch, they are a luxury. Spent building a side income or new skills, they become capital. This is the hinge of the entire ladder. Poor people spend time to save money. Rich people spend money to save time. Everything above this level is just that sentence, scaled. Level 4, the delegation engine. Around here, you stop buying back chores and start buying back your profession itself. The tool is no longer an app, it is a person. You run a small business now, or a serious career, and your inbox has become a full-time job that pays nothing. 300 messages a day, each one nibbling at your focus. Virtual assistant, $10 per hour. So you hire a virtual assistant overseas for around $10 an hour and hand over the inbox, the scheduling, the travel bookings, the invoices you always paid late. There is a known order to what leaves your plate first. Email triage, then calendar, then travel, then errands, then entire departments of your life you never see again. By the time your income crosses several $100,000, the assistant becomes full-time and sits outside your office. An executive assistant, salaried, whose entire career is defending your hours. Executive assistant, $80 to $120,000 salary per year. A good executive assistant in a major city now costs between $80,000 and $120,000 a year. Executives pay it gladly because the math is not close. If your time produces $500 an hour and the assistant frees up 15 hours a week, they generate roughly $400,000 of your capacity every year. Something psychological breaks here, in a good way. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who does tasks and start thinking of yourself as someone who allocates hours. Your calendar becomes a portfolio. Every meeting must justify its existence like an investment because you finally understand that the meeting is not free. It costs the one thing you cannot reprint. Level 5, the household payroll. Past a few million in net worth, delegation stops being a service you order and becomes a staff you employ. Your home quietly turns into a small company. At $5 to $10 million, the wealthy stop renting hours by the task. They hire them by the year. Housekeeper, private chef, driver, each one a permanent line item. The payroll reads like a mid-sized department. A full-time housekeeper, a private chef, a driver, an estate manager to run them all. Nearly $500,000 every single year. Watch what the chef actually buys, not food. The planning, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, roughly 2 hours a day, return to the owner as pure, unscheduled time. The driver is not status either. The back seat becomes a rolling office with a laptop and 2 phone calls done before arrival. Traffic still exists, it just is not their problem. What looks like a chauffeur is really 2 hours back daily. This is the pattern the outside world keeps misreading. Every so-called luxury at this level is actually a machine for converting dollars back into hours at a favorable exchange rate. Hours bought back. 1,500 hours per year. Add the staff's output together, and a household like this buys back around 1,500 hours a year. That is 9 months of full-time work, lived twice by the same family. You feel it the first morning the house simply runs without you. The fridge fills itself. The shirts return pressed. The hours you used to spend maintaining life are suddenly, eerily yours. And here is the honest fine print. Each hour is only worth what you do with it. Plenty of rich men buy back 1,000 hours and just watch them evaporate. Level 6. The private layer. Above 10 million, the buying changes character. You are no longer paying people to do tasks. You are paying institutions to delete waiting itself. Consider the doctor. You wait 3 weeks for an appointment and 40 minutes in a room with old magazines. Concierge medicine patients text their physician and get seen the same day. Concierge medicine. $40,000 per year, top tier. Entry-level concierge care starts around $2,000 a year. At the top, firms serving Silicon Valley founders charge $40,000 or more for medicine with no waiting room at all. The same layer exists in banking. While you sit on hold with a call center, the private client dials a banker who knows their voice and fixes it before lunch. Even the airport line is for sale. At Los Angeles and Atlanta, a private terminal called PS walks members from a lounge straight to the aircraft door. No crowds, no queue. Private terminal, $4,695 annual membership. The price for skipping the terminal runs about $4,695 a year in membership, plus over $1,000 per departure. People pay it happily. Lifetime spent waiting, 1 to 2 years of your life. Researchers estimate the average person spends between 1 and 2 years of their life simply waiting. At this level, that entire tax is optional, itemized, and paid in cash. Notice what is happening. Society runs on queues, and queues are how ordinary people pay for things with time instead of money. The private layer simply lets money settle the bill. You walk through a door marked Members Only and feel the friction of ordinary life fall away. Nothing here is faster because of magic. It is faster because you prepaid the delay. Level 7. The flying office. This is the level everyone photographs and almost everyone misunderstands. The private jet is not really about luxury. It is the most expensive time machine ever sold. Fly commercial and the trip owns your day. Arrive 2 hours early. Queue at security. Wait at the gate. Connect through Dallas. Land. Then stand at baggage claim praying. The private flyer drives onto the tarmac 15 minutes before departure, walks up the stairs, and takes off. The airplane waits for them, not the other way around. Door to door, New York to Chicago runs about 7 hours commercial on a bad day. Private, closer to 3.5. Every leg quietly hands back an afternoon. Private jet charter. $8 to $11,000 per flight hour. The price of that afternoon is brutal. Chartering a mid-sized jet costs $8,000 to $11,000 per flight hour. A NetJet share starts around $600,000 up front. So when does the math work? When the passenger's hour is worth more than the seat. A CEO earning the equivalent of $5,000 an hour breaks even embarrassingly fast. This is why public companies buy jets for executives and call it security and efficiency in the filings. The board is not buying comfort. It is buying back the calendar. Time reclaimed, 300 hours per year. Fly 100 private legs a year, and you reclaim roughly 300 hours, nearly 2 months of work days. At that altitude, the jet stops looking like vanity. You sit in the cabin with your laptop open and realize the silence is the product. 4 uninterrupted hours, no boarding groups, no announcements. The most expensive quiet you will ever buy. Level 8. The Time Empire. At the billionaire tier, time management becomes an organization. Dozens of salaries exist for one purpose, to protect a single person's attention. The centerpiece is a chief of staff, often a former consultant or military officer, paid $300,000 to $500,000 a year to run one human being like a company. Beneath them sits a full apparatus: schedulers, researchers, security, pilots, house staff, a family office managing the money itself. Easily 100 people, all servicing one calendar. The family office alone is a company. They typically appear above $100 million in assets and cost $1 to $2 million a year to run, handling taxes, deals, and paperwork forever. Jeff Bezos has said his real job is making a small number of high-quality decisions. 3 good decisions a day, he once put it. Everything else exists to be delegated. Warren Buffett keeps a calendar so empty it looks unemployed. He has spent decades refusing meetings because he learned that thinking time, not activity, is what compounds a fortune. One lunch. $19 million charity auction, 2022. Even leisure gets engineered. A lunch with Warren Buffett once auctioned for $19 million, which tells you exactly what the market believes an hour of the right attention is worth. At this altitude, every request for an hour passes through a filter. Can someone else do it? Can it be a memo? Can it be 15 minutes? Can it be never? A billionaire's minute. $951 per minute, passive. The math behind the paranoia is simple. A fortune compounding at even 5% on $10 billion generates roughly $950 every minute, around the clock, forever. Understand what that does to behavior. When your passive income out-earns your attention, doing anything yourself becomes irrational. The empire is not arrogance, it is arithmetic. Level 9. The final purchase. The final level is where the ladder hits its ceiling, because there is one purchase that even unlimited money keeps failing to close. Every trick on this ladder buys back hours inside a fixed supply. No assistant, no jet, no family office has ever added a single minute to the total. A human life. 4,000 weeks total. An average human life lasts about 4,000 weeks. Say it out loud, and it sounds like a rounding error. That is the entire budget, for everyone, at every level, so the richest men on Earth have started attacking the supply itself. Bezos backed Altos Labs, a longevity startup that launched with $3 billion to study reversing cellular aging. Tech founder Brian Johnson spends about $2 million a year on doctors, scans, and protocols trying to slow his own aging. The market for more time has no ceiling. What looks like rich people's toys is really hours bought back, which reveals the whole game in one sentence. Money is stored time, and every level of wealth is just a better exchange rate between the two. You do not need a jet to start trading on the right side. You need your hourly number, the discipline to buy back what costs less, and something worthwhile to do with the surplus. Because the billionaire and you will both run out eventually. The difference is that they spent their 4,000 weeks choosing, while most people spend theirs waiting. So look at your week and find the hours you are giving away for free. That is where your ladder starts. If this changed how you see your time, subscribe. There is more coming.